Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest DN Conversations. Today, we have Nicole Malachowski, who's a member of the National Women's Hall of Fame, a 21-year colonel, retired from the U.S. Air Force, former White House fellow, first woman Thunderbird pilot. And as much as I can say about you, and I can continue going, Nicole, with all kinds of testimonials and great things about you and your career. To me, the coolest thing is you have your own trading card. Every kid's dream. You want to show that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for the gracious words, first of all, Tony, but I am delighted to say that the world famous Upper Deck Trading Card Company has honored me with the privilege of having my very own trading card, which actually is one of those things I never in a million years would have thought I would have said. But they have a Goodwin Champions series where they highlight people who are making a difference to their nation, to their communities, to their families. And they have a Genuine Heroes section. And so interestingly, it was somebody in an audience who saw me at a speech who recommended me to the Upper Deck Trading Company. And so that dream actually came true. And they should be going on sale later this month. So if anyone's interested, take a look at Upper Deck. And more appropriately also, it's not just my story, but all of the other Genuine Heroes that they'll have in here to include our first responders is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I took a look at some of the people that they've got. It's a wide breadth of people from different disciplines. And I just thought, wow, what a great honor to be part of that. So congratulations.
Thank you. A huge honor. And I remember when I got the email, I actually thought it was spam. I'm like, who would want me on a trading card? But I think it's really amazing what Upper Deck is doing to shine a light on the people who are impacting their communities.
And what I've learned since, because I put it out there to friends and so forth. I've got friends who I didn't even know were huge trading card fans. It's a whole world out there of people who are seriously fans of collecting trading cards of all sorts, every description, not just baseball, football, basketball, but all of it. So great. Cool. One of the reasons we wanted to have a conversation today is, especially for all the bureau people who are working with clients, and the clients are looking to get more traction from the virtual events that they're doing. Many organizations and event planners are afraid of virtual. It's brand new for them. They're still trying to get their arms around it and understanding how to embrace it effectively. And one of the things that's happened is with your work in virtual, you've essentially reimagined what you can do and taken all the good parts of your in-person presentation and even reimagined them from what people expect to see in a virtual presentation. And the heart of that is this guide that you have that essentially walks people through the content options that you have as an alternative for a different kind of presentation for them. And it shows them exactly what stories, how the stories play out in front of an audience, and what the benefits are, and takeaways. And would love it if you could describe that a little bit and go more into your thinking and experience with it.
You bet. Thanks for that, Tony. You know, I mean, none of us could have expected, I think, what has happened in 2020 and the entire, live events industry and speaking and event planners at corporations, companies everywhere have been forced, right, to make a giant change into the virtual space. And I think the vast majority of us, are looking at this maybe a little unsure, maybe not knowing what that's going to look like, how that's going to feel to the audiences that they're trying, to impact. And so there's always going to be a little bit of, trepidation. And this is a learning experience for all of us. And I see it as a learning experience where, the speakers and the event planners can move forward, hand in hand. And I've had the opportunity to do a couple dozen virtual events now, including with Fortune 50 companies. And I've seen, people starting to grow into the space, but I've also learned a lot from my clients. And what I've learned is each of them comes to this new virtual space with different experience levels. Some of the companies have been working from home for decades. Some have never done it before. Some have demographics that may be a lot more in tune with moving to a virtual platform. Some have demographics that, they may need to train people before they can even come into the virtual space. And so I'm seeing that this acceptance of the virtual certainly runs the spectrum, but people definitely know this is the wave of the future, and that this is something that's going to be with us, not just for the foreseeable future, but I think is a beautiful tool and an option for our industry for the long term. I mean, this isn't a short-term thing. This is another tool for our toolkit that's going to last forever, I think, which is super cool and an amazing opportunity. But what I found is that clients are dealing with different audiences and different expectations. Some of them are wanting a full keynote speech with a moderated Q&A afterwards, like we may have seen previously in live. Some of them are looking for a quick 15-minute TEDx talk. I've even had clients who want just pure fireside chat. And so what we're seeing is a variance that I hadn't seen before when I was doing just live events. And what I'm seeing most importantly is a need and a desire to tailor the content, to tailor the platform, to tailor what that looks like. And so as I was on these phones with clients and we're all adjusting to the virtual, we were all kind of brainstorming and collaborating all over the place. And over time, I've consolidated that. And to your point, the thing that I came up with was actually what I call a content and discussion guide, which we're looking forward to sending out to the bureaus for use with their clients. But this content discussion guide allows you to take the breadth of my themes, the breadth of my stories, and completely tailor and customize them to your time limits, to the skills and the expectations of your audience when it comes to virtual, obviously, and to the challenges and opportunities that whatever the team is facing at that time. And so, as most people who've worked with me know, I've got 4 main speeches. In this guide, I call them themes. And what we can do is tailor this so that you can choose any theme and then pick whatever content you want underneath. I will make the thread of the theme happen for you and for your team. So not only does the content guide have some pretty cool pictures, I might be a little biased, but it's spelled out in a very organized, I think, and simple way. Each theme, you can take a look at the overview, a nice session description, outcomes, and then the desired audience for that. But the real key, I think, is that based on your time, your platform, and your audience virtual needs, is picking the stories, the content, the meat of the mission, if you will, right underneath that. And those stories come with themes and descriptions. But the thing I heard the most, the help most people needed, because they hadn't been in the virtual space, was how do I interject that with Q&A? I don't necessarily always want someone speaking for 60 to 90 minutes straight. How do we keep the audience engaged? And so I've worked with teammates, friends, and past clients to come up with pre-reflections, i.e. a question posed to the audience before I share a story. But then once the story is done, we have discussion questions that I've already created, nice and easy, kind of served to the client on a platter, that we can use for the Q&A to make it meaningful and impactful. And it doesn't mean that they have to use the questions that I created. They can take those as a starting point to brainstorm and then customize them again to the audience. So the purpose of this discussion guide is a purely tailored approach where event planners can literally focus the content a lot more deeply, I think, than they ever could have in a live event.
Fantastic. No, that's really great. And the other thing about it, in a time when event planners are really feeling really uneasy about the new medium, it gives them the feeling that they can have some control over the outcome. They feel uneasy about the new technology as it is, to walk into it with a speaker who they don't necessarily know and they're not certain how the message is going to play out. Anything you can do to give them this kind of tool reassures them that they're going to have a positive experience and they're going to get what they want out of this.
I 100% agree. And, you mentioned the word, a feeling of control. I take it a step further and say, I think I am giving we are giving with this guide even more control than maybe what they're used to. And I think that's what's needed in this environment. What matters is that the client is getting what they need. What matters is that the audience, even in a virtual space, is walking away with the right thoughts, new ideas, and actionable tools. And this allows them to do that. And I think the beauty too is the tailoring. It's almost like being at a buffet, right? They're able to pick a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then I'm completely willing to thread that together under any theme that they choose. Because each company is experiencing these current challenges, whether it's coronavirus, how their industry and economy is changing, the systemic, dealing with the reckoning of systemic racism that we've had to go through. All of these things are a challenge. And to be able to tailor what a speaker talks to is going to be just vital when they're trying to capture people's attention online.
Yeah, without question. And your success as a virtual speaker, the authenticity you have, all of the great qualities that you have in person have translated over in the virtual environment. So much so, we heard from a group who had you in Florida last month. You were speaking virtually to their 9th annual event. They had 8 speakers before you, all of whom did a great job, but they said you were the best by far, and you weren't even in the same room. They didn't have the audience together in the same place, and they were just stunned at how effective and powerful your message and presentation was.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. And I have to say, I also, as a speaker who's done live events and keynotes on stages, in front of thousands of people, have had to adjust as well. It's hard to stand in what used to be in my home gym, right? That's been turned into my own little production studio, now talking to a small camera lens. That's been an adjustment for speakers as well as event planners and companies. And, what I've discovered was a few months ago, I was like, how is this going to translate? How do I best do this? Now, some of the improvement comes with just experience, right? Getting in the jet, flying the plane, and trying it out. But what I've discovered and the feedback I've gotten, hands down, is that people in the virtual world think that and feel very deeply that this is more of an informal, personalized experience. I have received as much, if not more, feedback after an event in the virtual space than I did live, which is shocking. And the consistent message is this: I feel like you were talking directly to me. Who knew that virtual would afford this opportunity?
Yeah, done well. Virtual is interesting because every person watching has a front row seat, and a whisper can be more effective than projecting to try and reach the last row, as you might have to in an in-person event. It is just, it can be a much more powerful experience for those presenters like you who are trying to take what's unique about virtual and leverage it in some really interesting and powerful ways. So for the hard work you do, for putting this guide together, which we're going to make sure we get into the hands of all the bureaus this week. Thank you for your hard work in making that happen. And we look forward to having you go out and having even greater impact with these virtual events that you've been doing, and having a great 2020 to finish out and great 2021. Thank you for everything, Nicole.
Hey, thank you, Tony. And just like you, this content discussion guide, the sole purpose is to give event planners and companies exactly what they need so their audiences leave with exactly what they want.
Perfect.